Hey everybody, this is Brett, and today I want to talk about how it's really important to remember that everyone is healing at a different level. And it's really hard to remember that sometimes, and we can get really frustrated about people and where they're at and why they're not progressing, etc. You've noticed that with me, haven't you? But if you go deep and you realize that everyone has their own challenges and all those challenges are very different, and then you combine that with that everyone is at a different level, you begin to realize that it's people can self-destruct, people can crack under certain circumstances, and we have to be vigilant, we have to be understanding, we have to be all of these different things to be able to deal with these troubled times that we have in our lives. So sometimes we can go backwards and we can worry about things, or our muscles can tense up, or we can go back to eating foods that we know aren't so good. And that's okay as long as it's not too extreme, If you're not pacing yourself by staying towards the center, and if you push yourself too hard, that's not good. If you recede and go back to things that are too bad, that's not good. It's really good to stay kind of towards the center. And that's not always possible. Sometimes you're going to overload one way or the other because, like for instance, if you're just not happy with your progress, you might push yourself too hard, and that can get you into trouble, believe me. And so you'll learn what you can do and what you can't do, and you'll learn where you are in your own progress. So my friend Dan sent me a picture today of the healthy cake that he made recently. And that may be absolutely the healthiest cake that Dan can eat today. Because maybe he's just trying to get off gluten or whatever else is in the cake that's not in it. So that's where he's at. And so we have to just accept that that's where his level of diet is. Okay, so now I'm going to show you a picture of the dessert that I ate yesterday, that I returned that picture to Dan to show him what I ate. Okay, so I wasn't really bragging, I just wanted to show Dan an option like what I ate, and then maybe he could eat that sometimes as well. And if you examine other things, like for instance countries, you can look at different countries and see where they're at in their own progress. For instance, as an example, the United States is in a place of where the people are generally good and the people are generally kind, but they're also generally exploded to be obese, and they're all really too much into materialism and too much into devices and this and that. But in general, people are friendly, generally happy. Maybe not for you so much, but for me, it's important to know where we're at, where you're at. And this helps you to have serenity. So just as a reminder, you should know that it's not always possible to remain happy all the time. It is not always possible to remain optimistic all the time, because what you are doing is cleansing your body and mind and emotions. And when all of that pent-up gunk comes out, then it's not going to be pretty. The poo that comes out of your butt is not going to be pretty. The emotions that come out of your eyes are not always going to be beautiful, and everything else. And so what you do is you get it out and you try to isolate yourself to be just with God whenever you're not in a good way. When you are in a good way, you'll feel like showing it. But it's sometimes good to show the bad stuff as well, so that people realize where you're at and that they're going to be in the same way. Okay? Because that's the reality of it. That's the truth. Now, some people will be like, why are you always negative? Well, I'm not always negative. Oftentimes I'm positive. But sometimes I am negative. Sometimes I'm sad. Sometimes I'm crying. Sometimes I'm vomiting. Okay? But you have to have a sense of humor. It's going to be more difficult, in my opinion, when you don't have a good sense of humor. Because you must realize that every person, every society, everything in this world is imperfect. Okay? And it's evolving towards something more perfect. And so try to just be accepting of yourself and other people and things, and try to just continue to evolve, set a good example. That's what I'm doing. Thank you so much for joining me. Be well.